And I'd just like to address again, the Orange Party and the Red Party have been asking continually throughout this debate for more numbers on what constitutes coming out of this economic recession, or when are we going to see indicators that we can remove this bill if, and I pray that it doesn't go into service into Nova Scotia. Does the Minister of Finance have any indications? I mean, we've seen that this government can't locate a recession when it's hitting a world scale, but maybe they can find a way out. I'd like to see a little bit of justification for when we're going to come out of this possible recession, as the government seems to indicate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next on the list, the Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, apparently, no one can read this bill. It's kind of disappointing, really. I wonder if your constituents know. Sarcasm. You know what it is, I'm assuming.
The member from Kings West wishes to rise on a point of order.
Yes. I don't think the question of our ability to read is in question here. I think the ability to understand what the bill is about. Okay, thank you.
I believe the point is overruled, as the member from Truro Bible Hill was making a satirical comment, not a direct personal remark.
Yes. This bill, you continually say that it's a complete broad coverage, no financial aid to any small private businesses, It doesn't specify small, I might point out. I have put in at the bottom, at the very end, therefore be it resolved, I believe I've read this already, for any private business in the province that is unable to remain operational due to the recent economic downturn.
The member from Cape Breton South wishes to rise on a point of information.
Recently you said, due to the recent economic downturn. It was so cute, but why do you wish to help a company who cannot survive in a nice economy? And
once again, sorry, continue.
But you don't want to help a company that is suffering because of the recession.
Once again, I will remind the member from Cape Breton South that that is not a point of information, because it doesn't ask the member to back up any statistic or fact that they said. Continue on with your remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The reason I am stressing this due to the recent economic downturn is that if there is a business in need, as we have, as with the lobster fishery, which has been suffering for years, we can provide them financial aid in that clause in this bill, because that is not a result of this recession. The reason why we cannot provide financial aid for businesses solely affected by this recession is because this recession is, for one, out of our control, and for two, we simply do not have the resources for all the businesses. Yeah, we're not. That is ridiculous. Someone earlier pointed out a section of this bill, whereas transfers for health and social programs are also expected to grow at a rate that is much slower than rising costs. They took this to mean something along the lines of, we're expecting the costs to rise, which we are. Costs naturally rise. The budget, we do not have it in the budget to cover all those costs, as it is without providing financial aid. Financial aid would cut into our current budget. It would cut into all the progress that has been made by all the governments of this province over the past years in reducing our debt, in bettering our economy. It would be completely redundant. It would be a stupid, backward move.
Order, please. The member's time has expired. I call upon the member from Halifax Citadel, Sable Island.
Mr. Speaker, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time I checked, we were in a democracy, which meant that it was a government for the people. And so this government here represents people that elected them in. This bill goes against those people by destroying small businesses and big businesses alike. I believe that they said over there, if my notes, which I have many, are correct, that they don't want to go into their budget for this. They don't want to go into the deficit. Well, a government isn't a business. It's not looking for a profit. And it has the ability to go into a deficit to help the people of that it represents. And so why won't they do it in this unique time where we're in a recession and it's globally accepted that governments will have to go into a deficit to support the people they represent? So why is this bill here, which goes against everything that we see in our other neighbors who follow the same kind of government we have, a more socialist government? They may not agree with it, but we have it. We have a social safety net. And this bill tries to put huge holes in it that hurts everyone in our province. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The honourable member from Guysborough Sheet Harbour.
Speaker, I just want to go back to the point on the lobster industry. If we can convince Nova Scotians to stop buying lobsters and other fish in the big grocery changes, such as lobs, and start buying from the local fishermen, we can help fishermen in communities such as like Cape Breton and Yarmouth and other places that are suffering. The lobster fishermen, they have lots of lobster right now. They're not struggling. They don't need new equipment. They're doing fine. It's just us Nova Scotians, we're buying in the big grocery brands, and if we start buying locally, we wouldn't have this problem. I also just want to note that the federal government has just funded money to the lobster fishing industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. The honourable member from Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I'd like to address comments made by my colleague from Antigonish. Earlier in the debate, she stated that GM has to close facilities in Nova Scotia. And yes, I agree. Nobody wants this. This is horrible, really. But GM got a bailout from the government, the American government specifically, but I believe the Canadian government funded the Canadian plants. And GM's around right now. Personally, I'm not convinced that GM would be around if it did not get these bailouts. Also, the member from Antigonish has twice attacked the Orange and Red Party's abilities to read. Satirically, perhaps, but nonetheless. We're approximately an hour and 40 minutes into this debate. Maybe she would offer to read the bill to us, as I think is generally accepted in these circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you. The honourable member from Eastern Shore.
Yes, my apologies. Mr. Speaker, it is not the duty of the government to buy votes with taxpayers' money in a seemingly popularity grab to throw money at a problem that we have right now. We have to remember that it is our duty to take care of the taxpayers, not only now, but also in the future. Mr. Speaker, if we are spending these exorbitant amounts of money now, what are we going to do in the future when our debt has risen incredibly? These bailouts and financial aid packages that are being proposed are short-sighted and ineffective. Thank you.
The member from Hants East.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, the Blue Party has made several references to the careful wording of Bill 345, stating that it will not offer financial aid to private businesses unable to remain operational due to the recent economic downturn, meaning businesses that were suffering before the economy's recession